right, everybody, and I'm glad you're with us here. Adding extra live shows because I did this week's one usually earlier in the week. I think it was Monday or Tuesday, and I asked people, do you want more of these? Because people are stuck at home. Here we are on a Saturday night, and people are tuning in to talk about cars, which shows you the state of the world and how everybody is sheltering in place. And even in the few short days since we did this last, so much has changed. I just want to get into things, how things have changed in the automotive world from my side and how we typically cover things. I just went through all of the videos for the last 12 months and how many of them were events where I went to test drive a car somewhere out away from my house. There were 30 trips in the last 12 months, which means I was gone for at least a few days of 30 weeks. So that means that more than half of the year I'm on the road. And I know that because I did almost 300,000 air miles last year. This year, I don't know if we're ever going to get in the air again and start flying. So car companies are canceling all of their launches for their cars. You might have seen that Hyundai did a virtual release this week. We're going to see more of that. But there's nothing like actually getting your hands on and in and touching the car and doing reports. Okay, so that's one thing. Some car companies have pulled vehicles from their press fleets, meaning the cars that I actually get to drive here locally. Some brands are pulling them off the road for safety reasons, and I think that if the car's cleaned properly shouldn't be an issue. The good news is the car companies that have continued to supply cars are going to get more coverage, and they would be Toyota, Lexus, Hyundai, Nissan, Volvo. What other ones are there? Maybe a few more that come to mind, but yeah, a lot of the brands, the German brands, are out. General Motors is still running. Ford has pulled their cars. I cough because I have reflux, not because I have anything other than that. What else is going on? Okay, so I'm going to be doing more content as we go through the next little while, not less. And that means that it's going to be more locally based. And Andrea, my wife, has been doing some of the latest videos with me. People seem to like that combination, male, female, married, he said, she said, so we're going to be doing more of that. When we start getting back to the car launches again, traveling, obviously I'll be doing those more on my own. I'm going to be doing more of these live shows. Tell me how many you want. I'm thinking 2 per week. Do you want 3 per week? We can do that more often. What else is going on? Also, since we did this last time, the entire auto industry has shut down, meaning the cars are stopped being produced. Now, I did mention last week, it takes a long time to slow things down and a long time to start things up. Now, a lot of the schedule for cars being released into the marketplace will continue on. It might be delayed just a little bit, but part suppliers have to get their parts in place in order to feed the machine to get the new cars out. The good news is the parts suppliers are being tasked in North America with making more medical equipment, which will be good for them in the short run. What else is going on? Oh yeah, there's going to be a lot of questions about this, but I'm just going to address it right now. Will there be big incentives to get people to buy cars in the next little while? Absolutely. For example, I need you to go to carcostcanada.com and sign up, and in the promo code use Motormouth and you become an expert member, and that opens up more free searches for you, and you don't have to use them all now. What you will start to see starting at the beginning of April in 2 weeks time, and car incentives are pretty much based on a monthly basis. You are going to start to see 0% interest for leasing and financing. That will probably happen, and it might have already happened from General Motors, because if you're not old enough to remember when 9/11 came, they had a fantastic Chevrolet advertisement that was all about get America rolling again, getting people motivated to buy cars, and that was 0% interest. So we might see that starting up again very, very soon. And then there'll be money on the hood to get people to buy cars, and there'll be virtual deals. You won't have to go into the dealer. You'll just have to go to the dealer to pick up the car, but everything else will probably be done virtually. What else is going on? Big rebates. Yeah, spending more time with my family. My son Charlie and I taught him today how to repair an inner tube on a flat tire on his bicycle. So we pulled the inner tube out, we patched it all up, we put it all back together, showed him how to do that. Tomorrow we start painting his room. The two of us are going to start doing that. So yeah, spending more time with the family. One thing is, and we did this in the video, Andrea and I, what car was it? Was it GLB? No, it was the CX-30. We talked about 90% of the people that watch our videos here on Motormouth do not subscribe. 90%. That's an alarming number. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do that. All right, let's get into the questions. Hey, Zach, will you be reviewing the Kia Seltos that just arrived in Canada? Absolutely. I'll be getting my hands on that. I just booked a couple of Kia cars coming up in April and May. That car is not here on the ground yet, but I will be getting that. Hi, Zach. Would a 2016 Golf R with low mileage be a good buy in Vancouver? Its factory warranty is done up, so I'm not sure if maintenance would be quite expensive with the Haldex and the DSG. Okay. What I want to know is, was the car qualified for a certified pre-owned warranty? So here's the thing. If you're really worried about this and you want to have it under warranty, which is a good idea, is look for one that's just about to finish its regular 4-year warranty and then get Volkswagen to do what is called a certified pre-owned, which extends the warranty another full 2 years. So that would be what I would buy. Now, if you don't have a warranty, you can also buy a warranty through the dealership with a third-party supplier, but I would look for a vehicle that still has some warranty left, maybe even just a month, and then it would qualify as a certified pre-owned. Now the question, what I would ask on your behalf is to go back to that seller and see if they can get it certified by Volkswagen to extend the warranty. So your advice is good to yourself. Try to get one under warranty. Bruno says, hey, I really enjoy your live show. Do you think the 718 GTS 4-liter is a better sports car than the 718 GT4, or do you even think the Corvette is better mid-engine, naturally aspirated sports car? Looking at just statistics on the GTS versus the GT4, there's not much in it when it comes to horsepower. Off the top of my head, I think it's only 20 horsepower. And in the seat of your pants, as an average driver, you won't be able to notice the difference. Where you will notice the difference is in the sharpness of the calibration of the suspension and the steering. And that GT4 is going to be a more focus-pointed car if you wanted to go and take it to the track on the weekend. If that is not the case, and you're just wanting a fun car to drive, I think the GTS is going to be more than adequate. Now, comparing it with the Corvette, they're very different. I would say that the GTS and the GT4 is more true sports car feeling. You know, you sit very low and it's very small. When you get into the Corvette, it's really hard to describe the Corvette because it has such a wide envelope. It's quite soft and sedate at one end, and when you really push it hard and ask it to do its greatest function, which is go on the track, it does an admirable job. I just think that for everyday use, the Porsche is a better car, in my opinion. Hey Zach, what do you think about the current generation Buick Regal made by Opel and assembled in Germany? It's a cool car. My only worry with that is resale value, which also, the flip side of that, is buying a used Buick, and a lot of people aren't aware of this, a one brand that consistently, year after year after year, scores very highly when it comes to quality scores. Buick is near the top of the game. Now, it might not be Lexus quality, but considering what you can get these cars for used, there are some really good bargains out there. So if you're looking for a current generation Regal or something like that from Buick, same thing again. Try and get a certified car from a dealer, low mileage preferably, but you probably can go out there and negotiate some good deals. There are not a lot of people lining up to buy Buicks, but I would almost guarantee you that if you bought one, you'd be quite happy with it. They're quiet. They have Buick quiet tuning technology that makes them much quieter. They're sophisticated and polished and upscale, easy to use electronics, all of that kind of stuff. And that European-based Opel is a very good handling car. So yeah, I like it. Hey Zach, love all the videos, great content. You should have a million of subscribers. I wish. What do you think of the new 911 Turbo S? Review soon. Well, I think it was this week. There was an event in California at Laguna Seca to do the 911 on the track. It was just released. But yeah, nothing. Everything is on hold, unfortunately, and I don't think that we're going to get back to normality anytime soon. Blue chinchilla eating Dorito. Savage Geese. Other automotive YouTubers refer to the Mazda CX-3 black plastic cladding to the approach Suzuki levels of ugly. Thoughts? And can you see? I can't wait to see eating avocados. So for those that aren't aware, the video went up. Was it, what day is it today? Saturday? Yeah, it went up this morning. And there's an avocado toast eating challenge in there. If we get to 150,000 subs, I will eat avocado, which is the most disgusting green slimy snot. It's just, ugh. I'm a texture person with food, and avocado is just nasty. I disagree. I think the black plastic on this car, I know a lot of people, I think it depends on the color. I really liked it with this gray and the black. I thought it looked okay. Yeah, you know, too much cladding, maybe, maybe not, but if you don't like it, don't buy it. Get something else. Challenger GT all-wheel drive is good. The Challenger is, you know, that whole family of cars, whether it's the Chrysler 300, the Challenger, or the Charger, are all excellent cars. They're actually better than average reliability, some of the best reliability in terms of Fiat Chrysler automobiles. And so, yeah, I have no problem recommending it. I'm not sure about the ride height, though. The old all-wheel drive system used to have a higher ride height. I didn't like the look of that. But, yeah, do your due diligence if you're buying one. Make sure it checks out. Oh, wait a second. Someone's saying that the mic is wrong. You know what I've done? Oh, jeez. Is that better? Can you hear me now? Is that better? Not synced. It says it's not synced. Can you guys confirm or deny below? Stephanie Chamberlain is the last one. See, this is the problem. I switched to a new player, and I'm having trouble with that. Does it sound better now? I had the microphone on the wrong setting. Better. Okay. Much better. I apologize. All right. Let's get into this. Jason is saying you need to get your acid reflux checked and under control. I did have it under control. I was taking that omeprazole, that low-sec, for like 15 years. Works great. But there's side effects of that, so I came off it almost a year ago, and I do feel better for being off it. But yeah, it is an issue. Naveed says, what are your thoughts on the RS6 coming to North America? I'd like to see them bring the S4 Avant too. I think this is a fantastic looking car. It's got to be one of the sexiest, meanest, badass looking cars on the road, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. I was invited to go and drive it. They had a launch in California a couple of months ago, and I couldn't make it. I had a conflict. But yeah, beautiful looking car. And you're right. I think that there's an opportunity to expand that line of cars. If the RS6 Avant sells, well, maybe Audi would be open to bringing more of their cars that Europeans get that we don't. AF says, hi Zach, I'm very excited and happy to have you join the Motoring TV team. Would you be able to influence the rest of the team to stop doing tests in the parking lot of the mall? Well, you know what? I think baby steps. The fact that I'm a new addition to the Motoring TV family is a big change, considering they've had the same team there for a long time. But yeah, I'll suggest that. That is Graham Fletcher's stick, going through the cones of the parking lot. But there you go. Whenever we're at an event and we have to go through an autocross course, I always joke that, Graham can't do it because there's no cones to drive around. Hi, Zach. Do you have any concerns that Hyundai, Kia may be oversaturating the market will end up like GM eventually reducing No, I don't think that's an issue. I think that their cars are unique enough. I bet you if you took somebody that knows nothing about cars and you put them a Hyundai and a Kia next to each other, they'd have no idea that underneath they're basically the same vehicle. So I apologize about the audio. I think that was a real big mistake on mine. Now, you have to go through step by step, a checklist. That's one I have to check. So I apologize for that. So back to the Hyundai Kia thing. No, I don't think so. Sir Frederick says, I've driven the Tucson 2.4 and Equinox 1.5T, like both vehicles. Your thoughts on the transmission and engines of both, preference of one over the other, and reliability. Off the top of my head, I can't remember if the Tucson has, doesn't have the dual clutch. I know that. I'm just curious. Off the top of my head, it's been a while. So I have a Tucson booked in the next little while. Is it the CVT? I can't remember. The Equinox has the regular torque converter. The one I like in that is the 2-liter in the Equinox. I know it's much more expensive, but I think that it's an underrated vehicle. I really do think that the Equinox is a good car. The Tucson is older now. It's been out for quite a few years and needs to be refreshed soon. So I apologize on the engines and transmissions. So one is turbocharged, one is not, of course. Depends if you're going to keep it long term. A lot of people have question marks about turbos long term, but yeah. The Hyundai is just getting old now, where the Equinox is only about 1.5 years, 2 years old. Is this stop in the industry a chance for car manufacturers to catch up to Tesla in development and research? No, I don't think there's any slowdown of research and development that's going on anywhere in the auto industry. I think there may be a little pause here while people have to stay home, but that sort of cadence of what they're working on continues on. I don't think a lot of people realize the lead time it takes to get a car to market. So a car that is released today would have been started about 5 years ago. And the 2025 cars, they've already started engineering and designing them today. So there's very long lead times on that. Hey Zach, why don't more manufacturers implement heated and cooled cup holders? Seems like such a simple feature to implement, been around for many years and now exclusive to prestige cars. I agree with you. I think it's a great feature. I don't think it's a necessity like heated seats and heated steering wheel. Once you've had those, you're really not going to go. I would say things like a powered lift gate at the back, heated seats and heated steering wheels. Once you've had those kind of features, you're never going to go backwards. Like, would you drive a car again without Bluetooth? Probably not, unless it was a vintage car. But that's not a necessity. It's a nice thing to have. I can see, you know who will probably do it before anybody else will be the Koreans. They'll introduce heated and cooled cup holders, and then they'll be off to the races, and everybody will follow suit. The car industry is a follow me situation. You see that with things like, kick under the tailgate and get the tailgate to open. First vehicle we saw that with was Ford, and Mercedes-Benz had it. Now that has spread through the auto industry. A lot of these features, once one brand has it, they all follow along. And you're starting to see that even with the suppliers that make trim pieces. On the outside of cars, we're seeing much more of that high gloss piano black plastic that was on the inside of the car now used on the outside. So I'm not sure who the supplier is, but there's obviously a paint supplier in the world that has come up with a paint or a coating for the plastic that won't scratch and fade and chip. So now all of the brands are using that, and that's what happens. Monkey see, monkey do. Why would anybody buy a car when no one knows who will have a job in 3 months? Well, that is not entirely true. If you're a firefighter, a policeman, nurse, a doctor, a civil servant, if you're working in Ottawa and you're pumping out those employment insurance checks, you will have a job in 3 months. There are certainly sectors of the economy that are, they're civil servants basically being paid by you and me and the government. Those people, retirees that have income that is set and they're getting a pension. So there are sections of the economy that are not susceptible to these big fluctuations. And I've said it many times. I said it a lot and we had the big financial downturn in 08, 09. If you have a steady job, you're a firefighter, policeman, it's unlike the United States. From what I understand, in the US, they can lay off police officers and civil servants like that. In Canada, that never really happens. So if you have a civil servant job, you work for government, you know you're going to be employed, and you've been waiting to buy a car, the next 2 or 3 months there are going to be some golden opportunities, which is why you need to sign up for carcostcanada.com and use the promo code Motormouth, the name of the channel, and you become an expert member and you get more searches opened up to you, and they're free, okay? They're free and they don't expire. So you can use some next month and a month after that to compare the prices. You're going to see a lot of marketing for cars in the next little while for sales. Hey Zach, what do you think about the new 992 Turbo making 640 horsepower? What do you think the next GT2 RS horsepower numbers will be? I don't know. I mean, my God, it's such a beautiful car. I just think the 992 is absolute perfection in the way they designed it with the wheel offsets and things. It's just beautiful. Do you have a favorite detailing product brand? Anything that is a cut above? Okay, so I used to, I actually like Autoglim for their wash for their cars. I like Meguiar's for a detailing spray. But the people that detail a lot of the press cars that I pick up, I left my old Toyota there one time because I had to leave it. And they washed it and they put this detailing spray on it. I picked it up and I looked at it and I was like, what did you do to my truck? It looks like it's brand new. My truck's like 11 years old. And they said, oh, we put this spray on it. So I bought a big jug of it. I don't know the name of it. You have to get it through a detailer, but it's amazing stuff. So the name of it off the top of my head, I don't remember. Greetings, Zach. Have you been keeping an eye on the Kia Stinger GT? But I'm still not sure about the price point it is laid at. Should I be looking at other German rivals? I don't think you're going to get more car for the money than that at that size and that class of car. For example, the Arteon from Volkswagen, which I think is a wonderful machine, is about $10,000 more. If you're looking at getting an Audi A5 Sportback, more. If you're looking at getting a used Audi A7, might be not a bad way to go. But they hold their value and high, you know, the A7 resale value is quite high. So I'm not sure you're going to get much for your money, much more for your money than a Stinger, to be honest with you. So yeah, there's going to be an update coming on that car, basically a facelift. Hey Zach, looking at a Honda HR-V, but looking dated. Any word on Honda will come out with a new generation in 2021? Well, if you're not aware, the HR-V is based on the Honda Fit. And I was in Japan in November, was it, for the Tokyo Motor Show? Back in the days when we could travel. I can't even believe that I used to fly all over the world and go to car events. It just seems like a different time and a world and a different planet. But yeah, we were there for the auto show, and they showed the new Honda Fit that apparently we're not going to get in North America. But the HR-V is based on the Fit, and they did a beautiful job with the new Honda Fit. So if you're curious about what the interior looks like, go and have a look at that. So yes, if you look at the cadence of unveiling, the Fit is coming, the HR-V will be based on that, and you're right, it is getting dated and is overdue for a refresh. So probably coming within the next 12 months. Jumping around here again. All right. My wife has a wonderful recipe for guacamole. Oops. Has green slime in it. Yeah, if you're just tuning in now, Andrea and I did a review that went up today about the CX-30, and I said if we hit 150,000 subs, I'd eat avocado toast. And for me, it's texture with food. I just can't do it with avocados, but I might have to. All right. Hey, Zach, is the GTI Rabbit Edition still available as a 2020? Love the channel, by the way. I'm not sure. Easy to go and check it out. Go to the Volkswagen website. I think it was an anniversary edition, which would have, yeah, they might have some left over. So GTI is continuing for one more year. Golf R ended in 19. 19 was the last year. GTI will be made for one more year, and then they'll get rid of it and we'll be waiting for the new one. You probably saw the new GTI that was shown a week or so ago. Instead of the Geneva Motor Show, they did the virtual reveal. Which car brand and model had the best sound system you listened to? Two cars, one I owned. I remember Infiniti in the early days had a car called the J30. Do you remember that car? It looked like a Jag, had the droopy bum at the back. It had a Bose sound system when Bose was still just starting to get into cars in a big way. That would have been the early 90s, 93, 94. And it had the best stereo I've ever heard in a car. I played Bob Marley on there as loud as I could, and it just sounded fantastic. And I used to have a BMW 7 Series, a 740 IS. It was an E38 7 Series from 2001. I think it had 30-something speakers in it. It had an amazing stereo. I love the sound system in that. But who makes great sound systems? There's, typically most brands, when you get the higher level audio system, are pretty good. I do not like the Burmeister system in Porsches. I just think they're overpriced and I don't like the sound. I don't like the high-end Bang & Olufsen systems in Audis. I don't think they're worth it. I think there's probably more high-end audio systems that aren't worth it than are. I like the Mark Levinson sound systems in Lexus. I think some of their sound systems are very good. Yeah, some of the, when they started doing really high-end audio in cars in the 90s, some of those had some pretty nice stuff at the time. Hey Zach, what are your chances of BMW taking my remaining 2-year X1 lease for a new X3 due to their low sales during this time? I'm not sure how, remaining 2 years. 2 years is probably a bit optimistic, but you never know. If you go and get in touch with the business manager at the dealership where you bought the car and say to them, hey, listen, if you're looking to move some new product and you can get me out of my lease early, they might do it for you, because dealerships have quarterly numbers they're supposed to hit, and if they hit those numbers, they get a big check carved to them by head office. So it's not a bad thing to do. So go to the business manager or the sales manager and say, hey, if you ever want to roll me out of this X1 and get me in an X3, I'm all ears if I can do it without a penalty. It doesn't hurt. Which used wagon would you pick? A 328xi Touring or a Volvo V60 or an A4 All-Road? I would probably go for A4 All-Road. I just think the A4 is a great all-round car. The BMWs and the Volvos, I don't think are as reliable. I think that, yeah, for me it would be the A4. What are your thoughts on preventative maintenance? Some dealerships and lube shops offer lifetime warranties on moving parts that were serviced with WINS fluids. I don't know how easy it is to actually claim on that. I mean, it's easy to say you get a warranty, and how you claim it, I don't know. I would just, here's the best piece of advice. That book in your glove box that no one ever opens is called the Owner's Manual. Follow the schedule for the Owner's Manual as set out by the engineers that made your car. That's what you should do, okay? Okay, Lucky Hayer, you've asked a question about the Challenger all-wheel drive. Hey, Zach, been watching you since I was 8. I'm 21 now. Thinking of leasing a Kona or a CX-3 to replace my 05 Mazda 3 since winter tires I can get up to with winter tires I can't get up my incline driveway in Calgary snow. They're all fine choices. I would say wait until you get your hands on the Kia Seltos, which is basically the Kia version of Kona, but they made it a little bit bigger. If you don't need all the space and you don't need to put people in the back seat and a lot of cargo, the CX-30 is pretty nice. That's a nice car. But I think the Kona is fantastic, and that Kia will be good as well. But they took basically the Kona platform and they made it just a tiny bit bigger for the Kia version versus the Hyundai version. So there's no wrong answer there. I think you're right. Those are all really good choices. Pick the one that fits your budget. Pick the one that has the best deals. Go to carcostcanada.com and check it out and see which one you think is the best for your budget and go from there. Naveed says, which three-row SUV do you think is better, the Volvo XC90 or the Audi Q7? My only issue with the Volvo XC90s has been the infotainment system. Are you talking about a new one or a used one? The new ones are much quicker, much more responsive. They have much better processing power, and they've updated the back end of that tablet-style infotainment screen. The Audi system, their MMI system, is better. Now, it comes down to drivability. So the base model in the Audi Q7 is a turbo 4-cylinder. The 2-liter they use in other products. The Volvo XC90 is turbo and supercharged. However, the nice thing about the Audi is you can get the turbocharged V6 if you choose. Based on reliability, I'm going to say Audi Q7. If you look at the quality scores and repair record of the Volvos, it's not at the same level as Audi. What's your opinion about Mitsubishi Outlander 2020? Maybe the full loaded one. If you are not in a rush, there will be a new Outlander coming later this year. So 2 ways to look at it. And what I always suggest to people, if you're not in a rush and you can wait, 6 months or so, I don't know the exact date on it, but the Outlander will be coming, a new one will be coming. So this presents a great opportunity for you. When the new one is released sometime later this year, you'll get to see it. Do I like it? Do I think it's good? Is it something I'm interested in? Well, you can wait to look at that. Trust me, there will still be used Outlanders, not used Outlanders, but 2020 models sitting on the dealer's lot. So you get to have your cake and eat it too. Are you motivated by the newest and the latest? Well, then you can order a new 2021 Outlander when it starts to arrive at dealers. Or the 2020s will have incentives on them to move them off the dealer lot. So you're in a bit of a good situation here. Plus the economic problems that the world is in, that new vehicle will come. There might be a whole lot of the old ones still sitting around. So if you're not in a rush and your car can still drive for a few more months, just wait, because once we get word of when the new one is coming, then you'll be able to make your decision. There's nothing wrong with the car. Absolutely nothing wrong with the car. The engine is older technology, the 6-cylinder that's in there, but it's going to run and do everything just fine. Do you think Mazda vehicles should get a new transmission? 6 gears seems too few. Other car companies have gone to 8 and 10 speeds. Here's the one thing. Car companies are going to 8, 9, 10 speed and continuously variable transmissions to do what? The number one reason and the only reason is fuel economy. Okay? Which brand of all of the brands sold in the world has the lowest corporate average fuel economy? Mazda, because they do not have V6s and V8s that they sell like most brands for pickup trucks and larger utilities. Their corporate average fuel economy is the best of all of the major brands that are sold right now. So they don't need to implement those extra gears just yet. That's a tool they can keep in their back pocket for when fuel economy numbers become more stringent, they can add more gears. I would say that for drivability, it is a very good transmission. The 6-speed does a great job, and it wasn't too long ago that 6 speeds were the norm or were new, and it was 4 and 5 speeds were the norm. So yeah, I have no issue saying buy one with the 6-speed. If you had 8 gears, is it going to make your life any better? No, you wouldn't even notice the difference. It's all just done for fuel economy. 2000 Civic Si, or 2017 Civic Si, I'll do it the same way, or 2017 Golf GTI, looking for space and fuel economy. Well, the Si is only available as a coupe and only available as a 4-door sedan. if you're looking for space and functionality, it's pretty hard to beat a hatchback car like a GTI. And you've got that high roof, you can sit 5 people in it once in a while, much more comfortable for 4. That being said, the Civic Sedan Si with the quite long rear leg room is very comfortable, but you don't get a hatch. The GTI is available with a dual clutch. The SI is only available with a manual. So if you're a manual person, you get to choose. It basically comes down to what you're looking for. They're both going to be fairly similar in fuel economy. The SI has a smaller engine, but it's turbocharged. The GTI has a larger engine, also turbocharged. It comes down to what you like. If you like a coupe or a sedan, SI is a great choice. There's less of them around too. That's the one cool thing about the Civic Si. There's not that many. You don't see that many around. All right. One of the cars I like to check out is the new Mark 8 GTI. The front looks a little weird in pics and video. You've driven the Mark 8 Golf. It's one of those things that look better in person. I think so. I was supposed to be in Geneva at the motor show with Volkswagen to look at the new ID4 and to see. We were going to have we had an interview set up with the head of R to talk about the Golf R and see the new GTI. I would suggest that these things are typically the case in pictures. You look at them and you go, eh. But then when you see them in person, they look better. Like the Mark 8 Golf is better looking in person than it looks in pictures. So we'll have to wait a little bit longer. I said, are there going to be any GTI launch events? Well, all of that's on hold now. Chevy Blazer versus Jeep Grand Cherokee versus Honda Passport. This is an easy one. This is for pulling a small tent trailer. The Grand Cherokee has fantastic towing capabilities. It is the oldest of this set, but in my opinion is still the benchmark in its class. I really think that if you're looking for a 5-passenger, 2-row, mid-size utility, you'd be hard-pressed to get better than a Jeep Grand Cherokee. And it's a real star in the FCA quality realm. It gets much, much better quality than the rest of their lineup. It's a car I have no problem recommending. Dave Sargent is the head of JD Power and Associates. I've done many radio interviews with him talking about the quality scores from the different brands. And I asked him, this was now a year or so ago, what car do you drive right now? He had the car I have. He used to have the car I have. The car I have now is what he used to drive, which was a Porsche Cayenne diesel, and then he switched to a Grand Cherokee. And I said, on a professional level, do you recommend the Grand Cherokee? He says, I have no problem recommending it. So I'm a big fan of the Grand Cherokee. It's at the very end of its run. We're going to be getting a new Grand Cherokee anytime now. So, but still, in my opinion, is the one to beat in this class. Hey, Josh from Montreal, nice to see you here. I see the BMW X3 and 3 Series are coming as a PHEV, smart idea. This is a push that you are going to see from quite a few of the German brands. BMW does not believe that full electric is the panacea that everybody else seems to believe, or the unwashed masses of the public. The real way to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and get carbon output down is to have more people driving hybrid cars, more people driving plug-in hybrid cars with smaller batteries. The example is, for every one pure battery electric vehicle, you can make 10 hybrids, and that would be 10 people driving using less fuel than one person using none. Okay, so the idea to have plug-in hybrid electric vehicles to go 30, 50, 60 kilometers just on electric and then revert to an already efficient hybrid system really is the solution for today. I know a lot of people don't think it's very elegant and we should all be going pure battery electric, but if you really want to make the greatest impact, instead of having 1, 2, 3% of the population using zero fuel, wouldn't it be better if we had 50, 60, 70% of all new cars using a lot less fuel? I think it is the way to go. What car are you most looking forward to driving this year? Any car launch should be good right about now. I'll give you a perfect example how things have changed for me. Okay. So last year I flew almost 300,000 miles. going to different car events all through Europe, went to China, went to Japan, been all over the world, okay? 300,000 miles. Up until the car companies stopped flying, I have flown 30,000 miles. Not even, about 26 or 27,000 miles. And I probably won't be up in the air flying again until maybe 2021. So yeah, that shows you how dramatically things are going to change for auto journalists like me that get invited to a lot of events. So what am I looking forward to driving this year? Pretty much anything that we can get our hands on, because we're going to have to wait now. Instead of flying somewhere to drive the car, we're going to have to wait for them actually to be delivered. And a lot of these cars that I get to drive them a year, year and a half before they ever make it here. So, you know, the 911, for example, the Porsche Cayenne, the one that just came out last year, I drove that a year before it was released. The 911, I got a chance to drive that a year before it came. So yeah, lots of really cool cars you get to drive well in advance when you go on these trips. What do you think of the look of the 2021 Hyundai Elantra and the Kia Sorento? Well, I think that the new Elantra they just showed this week, they did a virtual release. If you didn't see it, have a look at it. There's certain angles I look at it and go, that's pretty good. Other angles I think is trying a little bit too hard. Like some, you know, cars that are really avant-garde and heavily styled, at first you go, that's kind of cool, but they don't age well. So one of the things is a car like that, 3 years from now, you're going to look at it and go, I don't know. That's my only thing. Peter says, how hard to find a 9972 with a manual, Sport, Chrono, Coupe, PASM with nice color, not black or white? Well, the whole thing is when you have specific criteria like that, you're looking at a very thin end of the wedge. First of all, manual transmission with the 997.2, most of them were going out the door with PDK. So you just have to really sit tight and wait for that one car. And when it comes up, you got to jump on it, unfortunately. And the other thing is, I'm not sure, Peter, where you are. If you're in Canada, the numbers are even smaller. And with the state of the Canadian dollar, basically it's 70 cents now. There's no shopping for them in the United States. So yeah, you just got to sit and wait. I like this guy's handle. Flat 6 rules. Hi, Zach. My commuter BMW 333e lease matures in December. Will the killer deals about to come out? Is it likely BMW will offer a pull ahead? Now, that is probably much more likely, because if you think June, right, which is not that far away, especially in this environment we're in now with the world the way it is, it would be quite... It could easily happen where you could get BMW saying, hey, let's pull you ahead into a new car and forgive the last 6 months. As I mentioned, speak to the sales manager that you got the car with when you leased it and the business manager and ask them and just say to them, hey, is there any chance I could pull this ahead and get into a new car? I know BMW is very aggressive with this stuff, and I've heard of people getting out a year in advance. So I certainly don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Looking at a used car with maximum performance, Canadian $20,000, a 16 Golf R a bad choice, any other choice? Well, when you start looking at performance cars that are, 4 years old like that, you are now looking and opening yourself up to a car that has not been well looked after and abused. So whenever you're looking at a performance-oriented car, you're always buying the previous owner's maintenance and how they treated the car. So what I would suggest is that you have a look around. If you can find a nice used one for that kind of money and you can get one, that's a lot of car for the money. Mustang GT is another great car. Not sure if you want to drive a rear-wheel drive only car. Hey Zach, from a fellow Vancouverite, any thoughts on the 911 2 GT3 versus the 911 2? I think do you mean the 997 2 versus a GT4? Not sure if the GT4 is comparable in any way. Different engine altogether. I think that, I'm not sure if you're referring to the 4-liter that's in the GT3 versus the 4-liter that's in the GT4. They're different engines, okay? That's the way to look at it. Hey, Zach, I own a 2008 Passat with 400,000 kilometers. It's been a great car. Do you think car manufacturers today design their vehicles with a certain life expectancy? No. Look at your car. It's 10 years old. It has 400,000 kilometers. Cars that are going to the wreckers today, on average, have about 300,000 kilometers in them. Now, yours has gone past that. That's why I say on average. Some will be less. Obviously, they get wrecked or whatever or not looked after. And people like you who look after your car, and you obviously got a good car, and you can make it last. So the average is going now to the wreckers at about 300,000 kilometers. And that has been moving up year after year, decade after decade. I don't think there's any sort of built-in obsolescence. Cars today are better made than ever. The tolerances for the way engines are made and transmissions are put together is higher than they have ever been. You follow the maintenance schedule of your car and you look after it, as you know, as someone who does this. There's no way you could drive that car without keeping up with the maintenance and doing what your mechanic and everybody's telling you to do. They should last indefinitely if you look after them. Canada has always been a market dominated by trucks. Looking at the top sellers in the country, it's always F-150 and Ram. I'm not that old at 23, so I can't remember back then. Has Canada always been dominated by trucks? Yes. The biggest sellers have always been pickup trucks. What we used to have, so you're 23 years old, say in the 90s and even into the early 2000s, it was pickup trucks, and then the biggest passenger car segment were compact cars in Canada. So when in the 90s and the early 2000s, the best-selling car, if it wasn't an F-150, was the Honda Civic. The Honda Civic was the best-selling car in Canada, and it still is the best-selling passenger car. But what happened in the last 5 or 8 years is that it was utilities that passed passenger cars. So the unfortunate thing is the way vehicles are categorized is they call them light-duty trucks, and that includes 1,500 pickup trucks and SUVs and crossovers are all lumped together. That is now over 75% of the market, and cars, passenger cars, are down to about 20 to 25% of the market. Okay, so the best sellers have always been the F-150. And then it was passenger cars, and then utilities. Now utilities and passenger cars have totally swapped. Is Cadillac going backwards? The XT4 and XT6 seems okay until you compare them with the Corsair and Aviator, which seems way superior. I'm not going to totally agree with that. I think you have to drive them, because sometimes if you just look at specs on paper, things get lost. Sometimes it's in the way that they're implemented and how well they work. Can make a big difference. And I have to get my hands on the XT6. I've driven the XT4 and I thought it was fine, but it isn't a Corsair. The Corsair is a different product altogether. The XT4 is softer, more traditional luxury, and more what you would expect from a Cadillac. 2019 Golf R doesn't seem to have as much or any incentives compared to the rest of the Volkswagen lineup. Is it even worth buying the last year model with its residual value getting lower and lower? I think that Volkswagen knows that there's no more Golf Rs being made. So they made quite a lot of them towards the end of last year, which is the last year for the Mark 7 Golf R. And they're basically going to sell them into this year. I think they probably hoped that by the middle of the year they'd probably all be gone, but now things are certainly going to change because of the economy. So it's an enthusiast car, and there will always be people that want it, because it will be a full year before we get the next GTI Golf R and Golf coming in the summer of 2021. And for some people, maybe getting one on a 2-year lease is not a bad idea. Lease the car for 2 years, get the residual while you can, and then the new one will have been out for a year probably by then, and then you can probably not have to, beat everybody up to get one. So it's not a bad way to go. Hello, Zach. Any news on the EQC from Mercedes-Benz? Well, I drove that almost a year ago in Norway. Was it May? It was around May last year. I got to go to Norway to drive that, and I thought it was very nice. They did a good job. I understand it's delayed. Here's the interesting thing. In Norway, so yes, I haven't heard any news on when it's coming. I have heard it's delayed. But in Norway, you hear the number of over 50% of all new vehicles sold are now electric. Well, they have huge incentives for electric cars in Norway. They have massive tax credits and if you buy an electric car. They have done all kinds of things for Norwegian citizens to park and to charge, and for road lanes and all that is being geared towards electric vehicles because Norway is the richest country in the world. They have the largest sovereign wealth fund in the world of roughly $1 trillion now. And you're probably wondering, Norway, richest country in the world, how is that possible? I'll tell you how it's possible, because they sell oil and gas. And they've been doing it since the 60s. And they kept huge royalties from the oil and gas in their sovereign wealth fund. So Norwegians per capita, mind you, it's a small country, about 5 or 6 million, I think it is off the top of my head, is rich to the tune of about $180,000 US per person. So they can afford to give massive rebates and tax credits because they're rich. They're rolling in cash because they sold that nasty oil and gas to everybody around the world. That's the real dirty story about Norway. But this is the point, I kind of got lost on that one in a moment, but here's the real story. The best-selling electric car in Norway right now, it's not the Model 3, it's the Audi e-tron. Audi e-tron just came out last year and now is the best-selling electric car in Norway. Now, the EQC is another challenger for that, and some people believe one of the reasons why the Audi e-tron has been selling so well is because it has the fastest charging capability of any car sold in the world right now. It can take the quickest charge off a high voltage charger and take it into the battery quicker than any other car. So maybe Norwegians are now getting more sophisticated in their buying, and they don't just want electric, they want the best charging electric car. We'll have to wait and see. But it's not Tesla anymore, it's Audi, and good for Audi, good for them. Will Honda add all-wheel drive to the Accord sedan? Toyota and Nissan now have it in their mid-size sedan. You can bet it's only a matter of time before they have to do that. All right, I'm almost up against the clock here. I'm going to go in a moment. If this shutdown goes on for 6 or 8 months or more, could we see some car makers not survive? That certainly is a risk. It certainly is a risk. Now, the good news is, what is the largest car market in the world? China. China, she looked at the stats. I'm going to look at them right now. I have them here on my computer because I'm looking at these every single day. China had 81,000 cases of COVID-19. 71,000 have recovered. 3,200 passed away, unfortunately. And there were only 6,000 active cases in China. So their wave of this pandemic has started to pass, and they're coming out the other end. It's the largest car market, bar none. They sell more cars in China than anywhere else. And all of the car brands have geared their business to super serve the Chinese. So it's not really as dire as you would think. So yes, Europe is getting hit really, really hard right now. North America is shut down, but China is starting to come out of this. Unfortunately for China, with Europe and North America basically stopped, the demand for Chinese goods is going to be much lower. So they might not have the wealth to go out and buy new cars the way they did because they're not exporting as much to the rest of the world. The other stuff we all buy at Walmart and places like that. But that is the dance we're going to be going through. Car manufacturers will be focusing on the markets that are selling cars, and then we'll start to retool and sell for the markets that they have in Europe. The big problem is for the European car brands is that the domestic cars that they make in Europe for Europe will not be able to be exported because they're not going to be producing them. The good news is most of them do have factories in China where they can make production. All right, does that make sense? So yes, the car industry's in the shitters, but China might be the shining light as we head through the next few months. All right, that's all the time we have. I'm hearing from you. Put below again if you want to get more of these. I'll probably do the next one on Tuesday. If you want to do it more often, let me know. Thanks to everybody that tuned in, and I will check the audio next time to make sure it's right, okay? Talk to you then. Everybody stay safe. Do what you're told. Stay home. Look after your family. Wash your hands, and we'll see you next time.